Hi, Sam Carpenter here, and I wrote the book Work the System, The Simple Mechanics of Making More and Working Less. And I've run across this remarkable young man by the name of Lynn, who has a business entitled Asian Efficiency. And we were just chatting, we're at a conference, we're just chatting about stuff, and I thought it would be fun to do a quick video because the chat was very interesting.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm actually Australian. I've lived and traveled in the US, in Europe, in Asia. I live in Asia now. And it's kind of odd to see. Interesting to see you here, Sam, because I'm a big fan of the book. Anyone who hasn't read this, Work the System, absolutely should. It is a phenomenal book, and I was telling you this morning how reading it kind of validated the view that I had formed earlier in my life about how the world works, which is everything is a linear system, almost. And so I have a blog called Asian Efficiency, and our mission is to make the world a more productive place, one person at a time. And Sam's mission is to basically do the same thing, but on a larger scale.
Exactly. So this fills in a good place for us because Josh and I, Josh is behind the camera right now, but Josh and I work with, small businesses, but generally up to a larger business, and we don't always work on the little David Allen kind of things, the small efficiencies that are important in a business, and so that's your specialty.
Yeah, we're really focused on helping the individual get the most out of their day, out of their time.
So we could probably use your help. You read my book already,
we're
right?
going to talk.
Yeah. So
actually, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, why do you think most people don't think in systems?
Because they think the world is a big mishmash of sights, sounds, and events swirling around, because if you just look around, that's what you see. You see this building behind us and the trees over there and people walking around, and you think, well, this is the world, and they don't break it down to the next lowest common denominator, which is true reality, and that is our worlds are a collection of systems. And so, for instance, you're a system full of subsystems.
Absolutely.
Your kidneys and your stomach and your circulatory system and everything, you're a collection of systems, and I'm a completely separate set of systems than you, right? And so is everybody else here. But we all think, oh, it's humanity, and I'm just part of humanity, and we're all one and everything. But really, the sound system in there on the presentation we just saw has nothing to do with how the bathroom works.
No. But they're both still systems.
They're separate systems, and that's the important thing, And I think most people don't see the separateness of it, which really is the beauty of it. And we're trained to think of things as just one big conglomeration.
But I mean, we kind of look at it more than that, right? We're like, well, everything is a system, but that's a huge opportunity that you can actually optimize every single system.
Yeah, you go through and you fix all the separate systems like they're coming in on a conveyor belt.
Yes.
Right? And do you operate that way with your business as you look at the small things?
We do.
In an office?
I mean, the way we train our staff, the way we train our employees is all systems based. So we document absolutely everything we do, and we find the lowest common denominator that anyone that has at least some expertise in the area will be able to pick up and do it straight away. You know, like, I'm sure you get this all the time. A lot of business owners are like, well, if I bring in a new employee, they don't know anything, right? Like, say you have an accountant who's like, I need someone who knows accounting. Whereas, you know, it's more like, well, you just need an accountant who's trained in basic accounting, and then you give them a system.
Exactly.
And then they can produce great results all the time, systematically. We talked a bit earlier about Toyota. And their manufacturing, right? Like how do they do manufacturing on that scale and get the same result every single time? It's the system. And I guess at Asian Efficiency, we're a bit more interested in personal systems, which is how do you take this concept and apply it to your personal life?
Give me an example of what you do.
So, for example, one thing I've been really focused on lately is health, right? So what does health involve? Health involves, well, if you have any illnesses or injuries, you really need to get that taken care of as best you can. You need to eat right. You need to have the raw fuel to do everything that you want to do with your day. You know, you want to be productive, you want to build a world-class company, you want to produce a certain amount of revenue per quarter. You need physical energy to do that, right? And, you know, coffee and tea and stuff is great, But what it really comes down to is what food do you put into your body and how much energy does that give you. And something I kind of discovered myself recently and I've been working towards is how can I be in the best physical shape to perform at the level that I really need to. I don't know if you've ever given that any thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I work out all the time. Been down to
Yeah.
the gym this morning and yesterday morning.
But it's great, right?
Yeah, yeah,
like,
you have to do
exercise
that.
is extremely underrated in today's society, but everyone should do it.
Yeah.
So that example, I'm like, this is health. These are the three big components that I look at. And how do I work towards optimizing each one continuously for the rest of my life? And I think one thing that people are afraid of is that, well, it's kind of like, is it ever going to be done? No, it's never going to be done. It's going to be done when you're in the ground and you're no longer breathing. But I mean, this is our lives, right? Like, why not work on this as best we can?
In your, you have some information products.
We do.
Yeah, and so I've got a small business, and you come in. Let's say you come into my business, and you look around, and what is it you will do with the business? Generally speaking, what do you do when you walk in and somebody wants you to help them be more efficient? What is it you'll do?
Well, we usually work with either the business owner or a professional within the business. So we'll look at things like, how are you spending your time? How do you manage your email, which is probably the absolute bane of productivity in the modern day.
Right.
And we'll also look at the other half that is unspoken, the so-called at-home factors that impact your work performance.
And that would be like what?
Your health, your relationships with your family. Yeah, those are the two big ones, really. Because a lot of what happens there carries on into how we perform at work, right?
Do you go into a business and take things apart? You isolate the processes?
I did that in my old life.
In your old life?
As a consultant in change management.
That's what you did, huh?
Yeah, I used to do that.
So you still do that with your information products? You encourage people to take things apart?
We're more focused on the personal level.
On the personal
we do
level.
encourage people to take things apart, but we also recognize that not everyone is trained to think in systems, and not everybody really wants to. I don't know, it's kind of...
So if somebody isn't thinking in systems, which is the reality of the world, how do you deal with that?
You have to find a way to convey to them in their model of the world.
Okay. So I don't believe in systems. How would you get me to
I
work
would
in
ask,
systems?
well, how do you view your day? And you're actually going to give me a systems answer because you do see the world in systems. But say you take someone who views the day in terms of hours, right? You're like, well, okay, you spend X amount of hours working, X amount of hours eating with your family, with your personal time. You're like, well, how do we optimize these hours then? Notice I'm optimizing hours, not systems. But, we both know underneath what's going on is we're optimizing systems, right?
Right.
We're just putting a layer of hours on top so that people can understand it in their perspective of the world.
Talk about, we talked earlier about this app where you were able to time every moment of the day, and you were shocked at the results. Talk about, what is the app again?
The app is a time logger.
A time logger.
It's
Explain
iPhone
how
app.
that works.
Yeah, I mean, we're not affiliated with the app in any way.
Yeah.
There are alternatives out there. But basically, if you track every second, every minute of your day, you will be very, very surprised to see where all your time goes. And the way it works is every time you do something new, you go to the app, you hit the category that you've defined. So say now is interview time, right?
Right.
So I would be like work time, talk with Sam, and then in a minute we're going to get lunch. I would be lunchtime, and then the work time will end, lunchtime will start, and then over weeks you can collect all the data and then analyze it afterwards.
So you showed me.
Sounds very geeky, right? But,
not at all. You showed me your iPhone, and there was maybe 20 categories there that you defined what they were.
Yeah, that's a great thing. You can adapt it to your life.
And the key is when you change your activity. For instance, we finished this interview. You'd go if you were doing this today, and it's probably pretty intense to do it for one day only, maybe. But so we'd finish the interview, and you'd push another app maybe for lunch.
Yeah, I would
because
pick
it's
the
lunchtime.
category for lunch.
Yeah, and then at the end of lunch, you'd go back into
The
say one of the
conference, so it would
sessions.
be, conference.
Conference.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Interesting.
You got to try it. But you found out that you were a little shocked at where you were spending your time. Is that right?
Like as a young guy, I love Facebook, I love social media. But after that, I looked at the data. I just decided I cannot spend this amount of time doing this. This is hurting not only that particular time, but it has like a multiplication effect for the rest of your time. It's that system, right? Like if your brain is being filled up with, news feeds, the latest photos, pretty girls on Instagram,
it's not getting you anywhere.
It's not getting you anywhere in your work,
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I was talking to a friend this morning about this. He lives in London. He calls it single-minded obsession.
Yeah.
And I think
Good.
you mentioned something like 100% all the time systems.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you two come at it from completely different perspectives.
Yeah.
But actually, I'd love to hear more. Why 100%?
Okay, 100% systems. So let's define what a system is. Everything in our lives is a process. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, however you want to define it, things happen over time as a process.
Yes.
And I don't care what it is. Josh is holding the phone back there. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4-step process of this interview. It's happening over time. Our bodies are happening over time. Things, circulating systems, a circulation system, the nervous system, the breathing system, over and over and over again. They're getting ready for the lunch in there. They're getting ready. There's people over here having a conversation. Everything is processes, and when you get that, when you really get that, you understand that the processes, every process leads to a result. Are you getting the results you want? So what do we do? For instance, in this interview, we're working real hard to make a nice little interview here. And so we're concentrating on each other and doing the best job we can and trying to communicate. And that will lead to a result called the finished product, which will go out to your people and to my people, right? But everything is that. Everything in life is a process. And so people say, well, you'll be a robot if you do that. No, not actually, because you're dealing with mechanical reality. And a process is going out on a date. A process is doing social media. A process is having a fun conversation with somebody. Those are all processes too. You don't mechanize everything exactly, but you do recognize that everything is a process leading up to a result. And of course, we work with business mostly. And what that means is you go into a business, you see the results they're getting, and we just finished, we're still working with a very large company, and everything was chaotic. Everything was chaotic. So we go in and we look at that result and back off into the process and then define the process, document it, and get everybody on the same train, going in the same direction. And with this particular company in the last few weeks, I help them with their communications guidelines because everybody was doing communications differently. Some people were returning voicemails right away. Some people had 200 voicemails in their mailboxes they never listened to. One guy had 6,000 emails. Another one had none. Yes. And so we went backwards. We took this chaotic result and all the little pieces of the chaotic results and defined processes leading up to those chaotic results, got the processes in place, and now they get the results they want. Everybody's communicating in the same way very quickly and very efficiently. And so you need to spend time on the left side of that equation, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4 equals the result equation.
The thing is, they're still doing that even if they don't know it.
Well,
there's still a process running.
There's a process. Yeah. See, that's the thing.
Optimized.
That's exactly it. So there's processes running all the time, even if you don't see them, and that's how most people lead their lives. There are processes. I like to say the machinery down in the basement. They're always operating. Are you going to manage them or not? Is the question. And most people don't see the machinery, therefore don't manage it. And what they're doing is over on the right side of that equation, 1, 2, 3, 4 equals results. On the right side of that equation are bad results because they're the victims of random machinery, random processes. So what I get people to do is go 100% over into the 1, 2, 3, 4 part of that equation and spend all their time there. The results will take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, for me, the results are this. I mean, tell me how mechanical this is. I make way more money than I need, and I've got more time than I know what to do with. And so you think, well, I'll go live on an island somewhere for the rest of my life. That gets boring, like, after day 2. So we all want to work. So where do we work? We work on the processes so we get the results we want. And just to add to that, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they're natural masters at working in the processes of their lives to get the results they want.
Yeah. Whether that's conscious or they're naturally good at
No,
it?
it's natural.
Natural?
Yeah, it's natural for them. They would be hard pressed to explain it, but they're naturals at it. But that's 1% of the population, in my opinion.
And that's why we have that 1%, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's
we
we talk
were
about
born
the
with
1%.
it, right? Yeah.
So I went to the age of 50 scrambling around, shuffling these bad results around, and then I had an insight that the world is a collection of independent systems, independent processes. Well, what if, because I was going to lose my business anyway, what if I just take my biggest process and get it straightened out and document it and get all my team members to do it that way, and then what if I fixed that? What if that worked and I went to the second one and the third one? We went through over 300 of them in my call center business over a matter of actually a couple of years because I was figuring it out as we went. And I have a perfect business. I work 2 hours a week. And like I said, the money's no problem anymore. And now I have other businesses. And because I'm working in the base reality that most people don't see, and that is the machinery in the basement that creates the results up on the first floor.
Yeah.
So there you go. You asked for it, so I told you.
But I mean, so, I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this are going to be entrepreneurs and business owners, right? And the common complaint, I guess, I mean, even we hear this, is I don't have time to work on that stuff.
You got to find time.
Make time. You got to make it a priority, right?
You do. This is where courage comes in.
Yeah.
If
make
you're
it the first thing that you do in the day. Work on your systems, and then the rest will come.
That's right. And a little bit at a time, and then you start gaining time back. I was working 100 hours a week. Within a month, I was down to 60, and within 6 months, I was way down under 40, and now I'm at 2, and I've been at 2 for, 10 years.
That's amazing.
But see, that's my money-making machine, and then now I've started these other businesses, and I write, and I speak, and I come to places like this.
And now you can share your vision.
Meet cool people like you. Yeah, and I can share the vision. That's what I choose to do with all that extra time.
That's fantastic.
And, yeah. Well, Aaron, what is your website?
We are AsianEfficiency.com.
AsianEfficiency.com. Okay. And WorkTheSystem.com. Anything else?
No, it's been great talking to you, Sam.
Good.
This was good.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Okay.